I agree.
Call this meeting to order. This is the Breezy Point City Council, April 4th, 7 o'clock. First order of business is pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on the agenda is the consent calendar. You have before you the council minutes from March 7th meeting, and we have the check register for claims totaling $113,327.42, which is checks, electronic checks 1472, 1480E through 1484E, 132, and paper checks 132,616, 132,260 through 132,664. Does anybody want to consider anything on the consent calendar separately? Commissioner or Councilman Maroney?
No.
Councilman Schmidt?
No.
Councilman Williams? Councilman Buchan?
No, sir.
All those in favor of the consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Consent calendar is approved. Next order of business is open forum. Anybody wishing to come before the City Council on any topic whatsoever, you can do so now. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and the topic you wish to speak on. Don't everybody rush at once.
He didn't say sit down.
Maury Wallers, 8871 Birch Lane, Breezy Point, Minnesota. Going through the agenda for tonight's meeting, the issue on there as far as insurance for sewer problems, I guess we call it.
Sewer backup.
Sewer backup.
Yeah. And so, in essence, this probably could affect the whole of city of Breezy Point, not just the sewer hookup people. If in fact something happened and the city had to pay out some money, it would come from the whole of the city, not just the sewer people. So it's a bigger picture than just the sewer hookup people, possibly.
It comes out of the sewer fund.
Right.
Yeah, which people from the whole of Breezy Point pay into.
No.
Only the people that are on the sewer pay for the
Hooked
sewer.
up to it.
I'm not on sewer, Maury.
Okay, all right.
So it's only the people that are on the sewer that actually pay into the sewer fund, and it's the sewer fund that pays for the insurance.
Misunderstood that then.
Okay.
Is there any public input for this item?
As
The people on the sewer system, have they been notified about this?
no.
No. Okay.
You can go on record, though. You can go on record.
Yeah, I'm probably one of a few of 753. So there's 752 other people? Okay. They need to be notified. And looking at the rates, it says manual rate. What is a manual rate?
Just the way the insurance company talks about it.
Okay, is that an annual rate or a manual rate?
It's an annual manual rate.
So I got to interpret that way, huh? Okay.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that, later on, and maybe that'll become clear.
So it's an annual rate that we're going to say, not per quarter, per year, per month. Okay. So my input on that is that if you're going to have any coverage at all, I would have to shoot for the max on that, what you're looking at. Because you can't do much for anything less than that nowadays. You never know what you're going to get into.
Okay.
And I suppose, not to pick on Neil, but I will. Is he 1 or 5 sewer hookups, or how's he?
Those are individual hookups. It's not the number of units.
Okay, okay, so he's one,
He's one.
okay, and along with the rest of them, okay. I don't know. Seems like there's a lot of people right now that aren't around. Fawcett Hill, there's nobody around there. Some are people that are not back yet. So they really don't know what's going on here. Hopefully you'll keep your eyes open on this and get them informed as to what's going on before you vote. Thank you.
Anybody else for open forum? Nobody else appearing, open forum is closed. Our next order of business is the 2015 audit report. We've had our audit completed. You have the copies of the audit report before you and the memo from Joe to the council members. I'm not going to go into detail on that. Joe, I'll let you, do you want to get started on that, or
John Archer will be
we'll
taking the
let
break.
John Archer just jump right into it.
Okay.
John Archer from Schleiner Winter,
Okay,
and he will have all the details, and that's this handout that you have here, correct?
correct, yep.
Okay.
So what I've done is I've taken all the information in the financial statements. I've kind of summarized them to get the high points for you, so we're not talking about it all day long.
Good.
So let's flip in. We're going to talk a little bit about the auditor's report itself. So every year, along with the financial statements, we issue an independent auditor's report. And what that talks about is, it talks about a few things, what an audit is, what it isn't, and then the end result of all that is that we give an opinion on your financial statements on whether we think they're correct or not. The opinion we're giving is called an unmodified opinion. You could think of it like a clean opinion, so this is the one that you want to have. One thing that you want to keep in mind is the opinion we're giving is on what we call the regulatory basis. So not the basis of accounting that large cities use, generally accepted accounting principles, but the basis of accounting that the state auditor has prepared for small cities to use. There's quite a few differences between the two. The one that you're using is almost like the cash basis, so it's cash in, cash out. The threshold for that is cities under 2,500 can use this small basis of accounting. And I know you've been thinking about moving to the accrual basis. It's something that we've kind of still got in the back of our heads. We haven't really pulled the trigger on anything yet. We're kind of waiting on a few things here and there. But that's kind of what the auditor's report basically says. Let's look at some numbers. We're going to go to the next page. So this page is a budget to actual for the general fund. So the general fund is where the bulk of your day-to-day operations happen. The way I've got it laid out is we've got revenues on top, expenditures kind of on the bottom. So if we look at total revenues for the year, they came in at $2,054,000. You budgeted for $1,977,000, so you're actually about $76,000 above budget on revenues. And if we look at what's going on in the detail there to kind of pinpoint where it's off, special assessments are up a little bit from what you planned on. The biggest change is the line that says intergovernmental. So if you look at that, intergovernmental revenues are $73,000 over budget. And what that is small cities assistance grants that most cities have got this year from the state. On the expense side of things, expenses came in at $1.8 million. You planned for just about $2 million, $1,977,000. So you're about $114,000 below budget on expenses. And if we look at the lines that maybe stand out there, general government's quite a bit below budget at $283,000. Transfers out's actually quite a bit above budget. You did a large transfer to the capital revolving capital fund. Overall, your cash balance in this fund increased $191,000. You actually planned for break even. Ending cash is a little over $1 million at $1,098,000. Had a nice increase this year. You actually have a policy on what you want that target number to be. Your policy is 40 to 45% of your budgeted expenditures. You're a little above that. Okay, let's move on. We're going to look at debt service and revolving capital here. Debt service is one of those funds where there's really not a whole lot to say about it because it's all pretty much set up ahead of time when you issue your debt. So you've got your property taxes and your special assessment revenue coming in. You've made your debt principal and interest payments as you should have. That fund ends the year with a cash balance of $221,000. It's not on this page, but you have one bond left at $1.9 million. Revolving capital, the biggest activity here is that you had that large transfer in from the general fund. Otherwise, we got $53,000 of other revenues. We spent $67,000 there. This fund increased cash by $339,000. Ending cash is about $1.5 million. Okay. The next page is going to be the remainder of what we call your governmental funds. And so we've got the cemetery fund, we've got the EDA fund. Cemetery fund, you had receipts of $35,000. About half of that was charges. You have expenditures of $14,000. So this fund increased cash by $20,000. Ending cash in this fund is $95,000. EDA fund, really minimal activity this year in the EDA fund. Ending cash is $5,700. Okay. This next page is a snapshot of your sewer fund. So the sewer fund gets a little bit different format than the governmental funds because it's almost run like a small business within the city, if you think about it. It's got more of a focus on operating profitability, less focus on just making sure your budget zeroes out at the end. So if we look at the sewer fund, receipts came in at $373,000. That's your service charges. Operating expenses, so this is going to be your payroll, chemicals, whatever else you need, were $222,000. You've got operating income of $151,000. That's good because you want that number to be positive, and you're well into the positive there. You've got some non-operating items, mostly hookup fees, some special assessments. That totals $125,000. From there, we spent a little bit of money on capital outlay or some capital assets. This fund, at the end of everything, cash balance increased $250,000. At the end of the year, this fund has $3,184,000. So this fund also has a pretty nice fund balance. So that was really quick. Are there any questions on the numbers that I went through at all?
Questions?
No.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about how the city's doing in terms of compliance. So every year, as a part of the audit, we look at your internal controls. And you've heard this probably every year that you've been getting an audit for probably quite a while.
Right.
You've got a lack of segregation of duties in your accounting function. So what that means is that you've only got a couple staff members. The accounting functions are handled by a few different staff members. So the risk there is that one person's handling multiple functions. But you do a pretty good job of mitigating that. You look at bills, that kind of thing. Material audit adjustments is another thing we did. So if you think back to that opinion that I talked about, that clean opinion, when we go into an audit, you typically don't see a lot of bad opinions, because if we see something that needs to be fixed, we're going to fix it for you. This is where we're saying that we've made some fixes for you.
Okay.
Third thing we have here is that we've written your financials for you. Other thing that we report on during the audit is we do some tests for compliance with Minnesota statutes. No findings there. Everything looked good. Okay. The next 2 pages talk maybe a little bit more about how did the audit itself go versus how is the city doing financially. So these are some communications that are required. We have to go through every year. It talks about things like, do we have any issues with your accounting policies? Do we have any issues with adopting new accounting standards? Do we have any disagreements with management? Did we come across any weird transactions or unusual transactions? Nothing with that. Everything looked really good there. It talks about uncorrected misstatements. So what that would mean is if we're going through the audit, we see something wrong, it's pretty small, we can still give that clean opinion and not correct it. We actually don't have anything like that. No disagreements with management, really no significant issues or difficulties. Everything went really well. Any questions?
Questions for the auditor?
Yeah.
Councilman Maroney?
I do not have any.
Councilman Schmidt?
Well, just an observation. Been on council for, well, this is my 8th year. And every year we kind of talk about moving into the modified accrual. When is that going to happen, Joe?
We've been talking to these folks this last week, trying to do it. Finance committee has talked about it as well, and we just haven't gotten out the time. There's some issues in identifying values and what have you, but it's a matter of spending the time to do it. We asked for help this last year. These folks were busy and said they'd get back to us after the audit.
Yeah, the only reason I keep bringing it up is personally I think it gives a clearer picture as to where we're at any given time during the fiscal year. And, you know, I would really encourage the council to pursue that. And, you know, I'd like to think that perhaps next year the report would indicate that one's being implemented, you know, that process is being implemented. So the only other thing I'd say is it's always nice to see that kind of an audit report. I think it indicates that the city is being fiscally managed very well. I think the use of the taxpayers, you know, the funds that we derive from the taxpayers are being spent appropriately. People may think, well, how come you got such a big fund balance, for example, in that sewer fund? And the thing that we have to keep reminding folks is that, you know, one of these days we're going to be on the hook for some major expenditures, and that fund is going to be there in order to cover that infrastructure. So, you know, that's good. I think it's again the staff to be commended for their work. Janae especially, as I noted in Joe's write-up, is a great asset to this community. I have no other comments.
Councilman Williams?
I have nothing to say.
Councilman Bakken?
I would just echo Councilman Schmidt's.
I do have one question. In the letter you talk about during the course of the engagement, we proposed material audit adjustments, and I think you alluded to it.
Yeah.
But what in specific things did you make? Or was it just several real small things? You didn't itemize them?
Yeah, there was a few small, just kind of tweaks, moving things between accounts. Probably the biggest was recording your investment income. So the investment accounts on your books hadn't changed from last year, and so what we did was we went in, we adjusted them to the market value. That was probably the biggest.
Okay.
If you look at the, I can bring it up here, the management letter in the back, there's a listing of the audit adjustments.
Right.
Okay. Okay, and again, I would echo a lot from what Otto had said. I will have to say that the last several years that we've been working with Schlenner Winter has been absolutely marvelous, and it's getting down to be, when the audit comes in, things go very smoothly. They're in, they're out, all the questions are answered. So I applaud not only Janae and the entire staff, you know, for preparing for it, but for working with your auditors and your people so well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, I would move that we accept the 2015 audit.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All those in favor, accept, any more discussion? I'm sorry. Councilman Brony?
No.
Councilman Schmidt? Councilman Williams?
No.
All those in favor of accepting the 2015 audit?
Aye.
Audit is accepted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next order of business is NJPA representative. The National Joint Powers Association has, seems like they've put everybody on the board And we have an opening where we can have a member, and in the past, we've looked for representatives and nobody wants to volunteer. I guess this time is anybody else would like to volunteer to be on the NJPA board? If nobody else wants, I'll take that position. Because I am working with the Region 5, and Region 5 works very closely with NJPA. So it's just, to go right along with what I'm already doing. So put me down for the volunteer on that. If anybody's really interested in reading through the bylaws, I suppose I could read it line by line, but since there's a basketball game tonight, I think we'll pass.
Do we need a motion, Joe, for
If you'd
appointing the
like,
mayor?
it doesn't matter.
If you
Yeah,
ever-
why don't you make one?
Okay.
I'll move that we appoint our mayor to serve on the NJPA
I'll
board.
second that.
Okay. All those in favor? Oh,
Aye.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That's me. Okay. Next item is the no-fault sewer backup coverage. The memo basically states that we've had a couple backups in the past few years, and they were not caused by anything that we did. One was caused by towels got flushed down the drain, clogging the impellers of the lift pump, and the other one was caused by the sewer line freezing. So what we looked into is League of Minnesota Cities has a no-fault sewer backup coverage. The cost of this is actually relatively minimal, and we have more than enough money in the sewer fund to pay for this, and it would give the city added protection. That, we haven't had this insurance before, and so I think it's probably a good thing to do. If we want to do it, we have the options here, the various amounts for coverage, and there's a formula that they go through as to how they come up with the premiums on this. So we have a resolution 1610 where we would set the insurance coverage that we would like to purchase. At this point, I'll just take some discussion as to do we think we should do this, and do you think what would be the recommended amount? I'll start with you, Councilman Barone.
I have some questions on it. First off, on an annual policy, 753 connections. If we add 5 throughout the year, are we adjusting it as we go, or does it just come up on the next renewal?
Comes up on the next renewal.
Okay. And as Tom alluded, this is to protect the city or the city users. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, if something happens and we, i.e. towels back up, are we liable at that point, or is the insurance going to be kicking in and saying, well, we're not liable?
We're covering insurance. They're saying that there's no fault. They will cover damages up to that amount.
Okay.
And that's after the homeowner's policy insurance has kicked in as well.
Okay. And my third question I had was, in the resolution that it states that the maximum amount the city would reimburse is X dollar per building per year. Is it really per year or per instance?
Per year.
Okay. So if something happened 2 times in a year,
Wouldn't be covered.
that's all the questions I have at this time.
Questions, Councilman Schmidt?
So, as I understand it, for example, that $40,000, that's per incident or per year?
Per year, per building.
Per year per building, so if, let's say they had 2 incidents and it amounted to $38,000 total, the insurance would cover it?
I believe so.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Councilman Williams?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Councilman Buckland?
Just an observation, it's an indemnification for the city, indemnifies the city, protects us, protects the city and the money. So with that, I will prepare to make a motion, move resolution 610 for the full amount, $40,000.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Councilman Bakken?
No, sir.
Councilman Williams?
I do have one question.
Yes.
I see it, I had written it here. It's on the first page of the resolution, Joe.
Yep.
It talks about, and not a condition, and not from a condition in a private line.
Yes.
Where is the private line what's in your house, or is it from your house to the main sewer line?
It's from the house to the main.
So that's private, like
That's correct.
probably under your front lawn?
Yes.
Okay. That's it. Okay. My question.
Okay. Any further discussion, Councilman Schmidt?
No.
Councilman Brown?
No.
All those in favor of the no-fault sewer backup coverage, say aye.
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 Those opposed? We will so order the no-fault sewer coverage. Next item of business is roads. Feasibility study, other council members. I'm sorry, Councilman Bakken. I'm sorry, thank you for correcting
Only
me.
one oop.
Yep, only one oop.
The only thing I have is Jeff Kreitz, our resident metal sculptor and artist, was recognized in the Echo. Maybe most of you folks saw that, but he's the one that did for our cemetery, and he's the master. It's quite an award and an achievement, so I just wanted to make that aware to everybody. That's all.
As long as we're talking, the airport fly-in is on May 7th, as you are the liaison to that. Do you have
Yes.
anything more to add?
That was the next.
As far as-
No, it's coming along well.
Okay. Do we have any involvement by the city at this point, or? what are
Can't
we-
answer that yet.
Okay. May 7th is coming up pretty quick.
So
Okay.
is my birthday.
Okay.
Your birthday?
No.
Councilman Williams.
I
You
have
have
nothing to
anything?
report.
Councilman Schmidt.
I have nothing.
Councilman Warren. Next item of business then is the feasibility study for the Whitebird 6th edition. We're starting, this is for the 2017 construction cycle, so we're starting a little bit early on this, which is good. So we can actually get some walk downs and some surveying done without having to traipse through snow. So this will be a good. The Roads Committee has recommended the paving in the Whitebird 6th edition, which include Navajo Trail, Pima Circle, Zuni Circle, Aztec Circle, and Pawnee Circle. We have Resolution 1609 to order a feasibility study for the paving project. And I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 1609, and then we'll have some discussion.
So moved.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Discussion? Councilman Schmidt.
As you mentioned, the Roads Committee has reviewed the proposal and discussed it with the engineer, and we feel this is a logical project for the city in its quest to eventually pave all the streets in the city. One thing, Joe, do we have an actual count as to how many lots, we have any lots that are tax forfeit that would?
I don't believe we have any tax forfeit lots. Joe did an inventory, but I don't know if he brought it.
I think there's one. So the assessment would be spread through all of the lots in that?
Would be spread through all the lots, that's correct.
Okay. Just wanted to. Okay.
Just a clarification, even with a tax forfeit lot, we assess that lot, and eventually when it's sold, we get paid.
Yeah. It's just that it gets to be kind of problematic if you have a whole bunch of them.
Yes, it does.
We currently have about $95,000 worth of assessments sitting on tax forfeit properties.
Yeah, I don't think we need any more.
No, I'm trying to do something about that.
I have nothing further.
Okay. Councilman Bakken, anything?
No, sir.
Councilman Williams?
Are these lots already sewered in here?
No,
And they're not intended to be sewered in the next 20 years?
no.
Okay.
Councilman Maroney?
Nothing really further to add. You know, they're all concentrated in one area, and moving forward with the feasibility study just to see where we're at. And you know, we got favorable bids for the projects we're doing this year since we got an early start. So hopefully we may see that.
Okay. All those in favor of Resolution 1609 to order the feasibility study?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The feasibility study is so ordered. And, we have a proposal from Woodstead Smith and Nothing for the feasibility study for the improvements on White Birch 6, which is really nice. You have before you the proposal for the feasibility study. Consider a motion to have Woodstead Smith and Nothing perform the feasibility study for $5,000.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion?
None.
Councilman Schmidt?
No.
Williams? Councilman Bakken?
None.
All those in favor of Woodstead Smith and Nothing performing the feasibility study for the 2017 paving?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item of business is the audit transfer. For out of the audit, we have the usual shifting around of funds. And if you're really interested, we can go through them in detail, but they are listed in the audit report as to what goes where. So Resolution 1608 carries out those transfers of funds. I'll entertain a motion for approval of 1608.
So moved.
I'll second.
Move the second. Okay. Discussion? Any discussion?
None.
Any discussion?
None.
All those in favor of Resolution 1608?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item of business is the Pequot Lakes Fire Contract. Pequot has provided us the 2016-2017 fire contract, and it's for $83,700.30. Couldn't round it off. Last year, the contract was $76,027.66, which is an increase of $7,672.64. There are obviously reasons for that, and part of it has to do with new equipment that's purchased by Pequot Lakes. I'll consider a motion to approve the contract, and then we'll have some discussion.
So moved.
Second.
The discussion. I'll start with you, Councilman Bucket.
I have none.
Councilman Williams.
I have none.
Councilman Schmidt.
The chief is here. You're still chief, isn't it? Aren't you? I don't know if he has any comments or observations, but before the meeting started, I asked him about the change in our classification as far as insurance purposes, and that has changed. It changed last year. So we are now in a better classification as far as homeowners insurance.
That's right.
And consequently, if you have homeowners insurance, which I assume just about everybody does, you should be getting an indication that your rates are less or lower than what they were before that went into effect.
Yeah, and that's something I'm sure the ECHO would be highlighting in the report that we will see.
The only other thing I have is I think when you were still on the council, I brought up the fact that I'd like to see on the side of all of the equipment, including that brand new fancy vehicle you got out there, where it should say Breezy Point Pequot Lakes Fire Department.
Pequot's number one now,
Well, I only say that because it's based on the amount that's paid into the contract. I think we pay more than Pequot, correct?
It actually switched 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Pequot's on top.
Oh, they are now? Oh, wonderful. That's
Why don't
good.
you just change the names every year and forget who's...
Hey, we got a basketball game coming up. Councilman Maroney.
Nothing.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the Pequot Lakes fire contract, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Pequot Lakes contract is accepted. And
Thank you for
we have
protecting us.
completed the agenda for tonight. Meeting adjourned.